Hello, my friend. I'm glad you've stopped by for another cup of coffee. Today, I'd like to talk about superheroes. Now, before you laugh, hear me out. Whether it's Superman, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Iron Man, or Captain America, superhero stories have always fascinated us. Maybe it's because deep down, we all wish we were stronger than we are. We wish we could solve every problem, protect everyone we love, fix every broken situation, overcome every obstacle. In other words, we want power. Not necessarily superpowers, but enough power to control our lives, enough power to guarantee success, enough power to prevent pain, enough power to make everything work out exactly the way we want. The trouble is, life eventually teaches us something humbling. We are not superheroes. And perhaps that's one of the most important lessons we can learn. Years ago, I noticed something interesting about little children. When they're very young, they think their parents can do anything. Dad can fix everything. Mum can solve every problem. Parents seem larger than life. Then one day the child grows older and discovers something surprising. Mum and Dad are human. They get tired, they make mistakes, they don't have all the answers. The child begins to see reality. I think something similar happens in our spiritual lives. At first, we imagine that maturity means becoming stronger and more self-sufficient. But the longer we walk with God, the more we discover our limitations. We begin to realize how much we need Him. That realization is not weakness, it's wisdom. One of the most surprising statements Jesus ever made appears in John's Gospel. He said, "The Son can do nothing of himself." Then later he said, "I can do nothing on my own." Think about that for a moment. Jesus healed the sick. He calmed storms. He walked on water. He raised the dead. If anyone qualified as a superhero, surely it was Jesus. Yet he refused to operate independently of his Father. Everything he did flowed from his relationship with God. Everything. His power was never separated from his obedience. His strength was never separated from his dependence. And that's a lesson our culture desperately needs. Because we're constantly told to trust ourselves, depend on ourselves, believe in ourselves. The message is everywhere. You can do anything. You are enough. Follow your heart. Now, there is some truth in encouraging confidence, but confidence becomes dangerous when it replaces dependence on God. The Apostle Paul understood this. Paul wrote one of the most quoted verses in the Bible, "I can do all things through him who strengthens me." Most people stop after the words, "I can do all things." But the secret is found in the rest of the sentence. Through him. Not through myself. Not through my talent. Not through my intelligence. Not through my determination. Through him. Christ is the source. Paul knew his own weakness. He knew what it was like to be exhausted, hungry, rejected, persecuted, imprisoned. Yet he kept going because God's strength carried him. Many years ago, I heard a simple illustration. A light bulb shines brightly, but only when connected to the power source. The moment it's disconnected, the light goes out. The bulb isn't the source of the electricity. It's simply the instrument through which the electricity flows. That's a pretty good picture of the Christian life. We shine only because God's power flows through us. The moment we imagine we're the source, we're already in trouble. The Bible tells the story of a man named Gideon. God called him to deliver Israel from a powerful enemy. At first, Gideon gathered 32,000 soldiers. That seemed reasonable, but then God did something unexpected. He reduced the army, not by a few hundred, not by a few thousand. He reduced it to only 300 men. Imagine being Gideon. You look at your tiny army and think, this can't possibly work. And God says, exactly. Why? Because God wanted everyone to know where the victory came from. If 32,000 soldiers had won the battle, people might have congratulated themselves. But with only 300, the glory belonged to God alone. Sometimes God allows us to reach the end of our own strength for the same reason. So we'll discover His. Perhaps you've experienced that. Maybe you faced a situation you couldn't fix, a relationship you couldn't heal, a burden you couldn't carry, a problem you couldn't solve. You tried everything. Nothing worked. Then somehow God carried you through. And afterward, you knew exactly who deserved the credit. Not you. Him. The older I get, the more I admire humility. Not the false humility that pretends to be weak. Real humility. The kind that quietly serves. The kind that doesn't need applause. The kind that gives God the credit. Jesus lived that way. He came not to be served, but to serve. He used his power to help others, to heal, to restore, to save, never to promote himself. That's what true greatness looks like. Our world often measures greatness by fame, influence, and recognition. Jesus measured greatness differently. He measured it by service. The greatest person in the room is often the one quietly helping others, the one encouraging, the one giving, the one serving, the one nobody notices, but God notices. And that's enough. My friend, you don't have to be a superhero. You don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be strong all the time. You simply need to stay connected to the one who is. Trust him, depend on him, serve others, give him the glory. And when something good happens through your life, remember where the strength came from. Because the truth is, none of us are superheroes. But we know the God who is all-powerful, and that makes all the difference. Thanks for sharing a cup of coffee with me today. Until next time, keep your coffee warm, keep your Bible open, and keep your eyes on Jesus. This is Mr. Beck. God bless you.